In the bustling studio of a morning television show, where the air hummed with the quiet urgency of live broadcasting, a moment unfolded that would soon spark a wave of viewer outrage and social media chatter. The host, a seasoned presenter known for his quick wit and affable charm, found himself at the center of an exchange that teetered on the edge of hilarity and discomfort. It was one of those segments designed to bring joy and surprise, a competition reveal meant to transform an ordinary day into a life-altering windfall for some lucky viewer. But as the phone rang out into the ether, what began as a promise of excitement quickly spiraled into a series of missteps, hang-ups, and hesitant voices that left everyone involved, from the studio audience to the couple on the other end of the line, feeling a touch exposed and uneasy. The setup was classic for such shows: a gleaming phone propped on the desk, its screen glowing with the number of the presumed winner, and the host leaning in with exaggerated anticipation. He announced the call with a flourish, his voice rising in pitch to build suspense. "I'm about to call somebody to let them know they have won a huge amount of money," he declared, his words laced with that trademark enthusiasm that morning TV thrives on. There was a pause, a deliberate one, as he explained the quirks of live television to the viewers at home. "What we've realized now is that it rings on here before it rings in your house. So if your phone is ringing about now, but of course you can't see me yet because I'm about 7 seconds behind. But anyway, it makes sense to me, so that's why we have to let it ring for ages." The explanation was meant to draw the audience in, to make them feel like co-conspirators in this grand reveal, but it also underscored the artificiality of the moment. The delay, the orchestration, the invisible barrier between the studio's polished world and the unsuspecting home. As the ringtone echoed through the speakers, filling the studio with a tinny, insistent trill, the tension mounted. The co-hosts, seated nearby with mugs of coffee in hand and knowing smiles on their faces, watched with a mix of amusement and mild apprehension. They had seen these calls go smoothly before, but everyone carried the risk of the unknown. What if the winner was shy? What if they didn't believe it? What if technology failed? The phone finally connected, and a tentative hello crackled through the line. It was the voice of an older man, perhaps in his 70s or 80s, measured and polite, the kind of tone that spoke of a lifetime of quiet routines interrupted only by the occasional unexpected visitor or bill in the mail. The host seized the moment with a light-hearted warning, his tone playful yet edged with the pressure of keeping the segment on track. "You are live on ITV, please don't say anything fruity." It was a quip intended to ease nerves, to acknowledge the live audience's presence without overwhelming the caller, but in retrospect, it landed with an unintended awkwardness, as if preempting some imagined indiscretion from a stranger who was simply answering his phone. Before the host could elaborate on the prize or even introduce himself properly, there was a click, a sudden, unceremonious hang-up. The studio fell into a brief, stunned silence, broken only by the host's theatrical exclamation, "That was downright rude." Laughter rippled through the crew off camera, and the co-hosts exchanged glances, one stifling a chuckle while the other raised an eyebrow in sympathy. It was the kind of mishap that could derail a segment, but the host, ever the professional, redialed without missing a beat, his fingers flying over the buttons as if this were all part of the script. "Hello, it's Andi Peters," he tried again, injecting a touch more warmth into his voice this time, hoping familiarity would bridge the gap. But once more the line went dead, the dial tone humming mockingly through the speakers. The second hang-up elicited a collective gasp from the studio, and the host's frustration bubbled over into humor as he quipped about persistence. "Third time lucky. Should I say someone it's more famous?" It was a self-deprecating jab, a nod to his own celebrity status that might have charmed in a different context, but here it only highlighted the growing discomfort of chasing down a reluctant winner. On the third attempt, success at least partially. The phone connected, and the same elderly voice returned, now tinged with confusion and a hint of wariness. "Who are you?" the man asked, his words slow and deliberate, as if piecing together the fragments of this bizarre intrusion. There was no immediate recognition, no spark of excitement. Instead, a genuine bewilderment that spoke volumes about the disconnect between the glitzy world of television competitions and the quiet domesticity of the caller's life. The host explained patiently, but the man, clearly flustered, admitted he had no recollection of entering any contest. "I have no idea whether they had entered a competition," he said, his voice trailing off as he made the decision to defer to someone more attuned to such matters. "Okay, speak to the wife because we've got all the time in the world," the host replied, his tone shifting to one of exaggerated patience, almost jovial resignation. The handoff was awkward, the phone rustling as it passed from one set of hands to another, and then a new voice emerged, Anne's, softer and more composed, though laced with the same underlying surprise. The host wasted no time, diving straight into the heart of the matter. "Did you enter a competition last week on ITV?" he asked, his words crisp and expectant. Anne's response was hesitant, a flicker of memory surfacing amid the shock. "I think I did." It was the confirmation they needed, and with that, the reveal cascaded forth like a dam breaking. "You've won £100,000, the host announced, his voice swelling with the gravity of the sum, each zero landing with emphatic weight. The studio hosts, who had been observing the unfolding drama with increasing amusement, now leaned in closer, their expressions a blend of vicarious thrill and mild second-hand embarrassment. Anne's reaction was pure, unfiltered joy mixed with disbelief. "Oh my God, that's amazing." Her words hung in the air, a testament to the raw humanity of the moment, the sudden intrusion of fortune into a life likely marked by modest routines, perhaps a cozy living room with floral curtains and a kettle always on the boil. But the call wasn't out of the woods yet. The host, sensing the fragility of the connection, reiterated his identity with gentle insistence. "It's definitely me, it's definitely Andi Peters from the television." He could hear the shock in her voice, the way it trembled as the reality sank in, and he guided her through it with a mix of reassurance and urgency. "I can tell you're in shock. Stay on the line, one of the team is going to talk to you, and you've just won a life-changing £100,000, there you go, it's sinking in finally." His pleas to stay on the line, "Please don't put the phone down," carried an undercurrent of desperation, not just for the segment's sake but for the couple's, as if willing them to grasp the magnitude without retreating back into the safety of disconnection. The elderly man's earlier hang-ups now took on a poignant layer, perhaps not rudeness at all, but the instinctive caution of age, the wariness of scams that preys on the vulnerable, amplified by the disembodied voices emanating from a ringing phone.